Hello YouTube, I'm Nikhil Roby Coleman and I'm with Tempo Finance, and on this channel we teach you guys how to eliminate debt. Today I want to discuss what is a first lien HELOC and a second lien HELOC. So let's get into it. First, HELOC is a home equity line of credit. A home equity line of credit is a revolving line of credit. It's just like a personal line of credit, it's just like a business line of credit. But in this case, it's based off the value of your home. Home equity. It's based off your home equity. So, with that being said, a first lien HELOC, right? A first lien HELOC takes over the mortgage if existing. So what that means is, when you acquire a home, right? Let's say if you already have an existing mortgage, right? And you can go into the bank or you can go into a credit union that offers HELOCs. And once you go inside of that place, basically, you can convert your mortgage into a home equity line of credit. Once you do that, the home equity line of credit will take over the whole loan. It will pay for it. It will pay for the whole mortgage loan. And then now you have no mortgage. It eliminates the whole mortgage. And the only thing you have to do now is pay down, right? Pay down the debt through the home equity line of credit, which is a revolving line of credit, just like a PLOC. So that's what that means when it says take over the mortgage if existing. Secured, second, secured against the equity of the home. So basically, when it says secured, the collateral is the home. The home is the collateral. So if anything happens to the HELOC, the bank or the I would say the credit union, they will take the home. But in this case, that's not gonna really happen, because a home equity line of credit works for the consumer. It works for the person who's receiving the home equity line of credit. So that's just for like emergency, dire need purposes, right? So we're not gonna worry about that on that end. But that's how it is secured. Just to be correct with the audience, it's secured because of the home, the value of the home. So equity, remember, equity is just a fancy way to say value. So secured against the value of the home. Secondly, thirdly, it's set at 10-year term. It's set at a 10-year term. So what that means is a HELOC normally has a 10-year term before repayment, right? So what that means is once you get your HELOC, right, you basically have it for 10 years before the repayment period. Once you hit repayment period, basically you have 15 to 20 years to pay what you owe towards the HELOC. That's what's within those 10 years. But in our case, we don't use a HELOC like a credit card or anything like that. We actually use it as a line of credit. So this, I had to put it for this video's sake, but this is something that we don't have to worry about. But to let you know, to further your HELOC, to further your home equity line of credit, the only thing we're gonna do is around year 8, we're gonna refinance into a new home equity line of credit, because you have to understand that the value of your home is going to increase over time. So every 5 years, every 6 years, values of homes increase. So instead of saying, oh, we're not gonna use the home equity line of credit, no, we're gonna keep this for the rest of our life. So only thing we're gonna keep doing, we're just gonna keep refinancing, and to keep that home equity line of credit, right? And it has the potential to keep increasing. The home equity line of credit has the chance to keep increasing for that sake, because the home is going to keep increasing. Remember, homes don't depreciate, land don't depreciate, real estate don't depreciate. Real estate only appreciates, it only gets higher, it only increases. That's all that homes do. It only keeps increasing. It's very rare that a home will cost less 5 years later than what it was when you initially bought it. That's not a realistic viewpoint. Payoff or eliminate or elimination. Your payoff or your elimination normally is around 5 to 7 years. It's normally around 5 to 7 years if situations go exactly and according to your income, your expense situation, instead of the 30-year mortgage, right? Instead of the 30-year mortgage, we're looking at 5 to 7 years with a home equity line of credit. Come on, instead of a 30-year mortgage, and you're gonna save a ton of money in interest. You're gonna save money in your interest, so you're gonna put all that. You can put all that money back in your pocket, and you're gonna build your credit, and you're saving time. 30 years or 5 years, what's better? 30 years, 7 years, what's better? And in most cases, let's say if somebody's situation is not as ideal as it's supposed to be, you could look at 10 years, maybe 13 years, but it's not 30 years though. That's the case in point. It's not 30 years, and that's what make this home equity line of credit, this revolving home equity line of credit. That's what make it so unique, and it makes it so powerful because of that reason. Credit score. Your credit score must be 700 plus. It got to be 700 and above. Depending on where you go, where you are located at, it has to be 700 plus. Some places it requires 740. So like I said, go to your local places, do your research, and find out 700 plus for a home equity line of credit. That's what you need. LTV. I went with 70 to 90%. I went with 70 just to be on the safe side, to leave myself room for error. But normally it's 80 to 90, but I'm gonna say 70 to 90 for this video's sake, because different places have different requirements. And I'm trying to relate with the whole America, not just the area that I'm from. So bear with me with that. So a loan to value, it says loan to value, that's just a term, right? So it's a lending tool though. But LTV is 70 to 90. LTV is 70 to 90, and 70 to 90% of the value, LTV, loan to value of 70 to 90% of the value of the home, right? So I wrote down in my notes, right? If the home is $300,000, if the home value is $300,000, 80%, right in the middle, 80% loan to value is $240,000. So that's just to give you a benchmark of what I mean by value of home and the percentage of the value of the home, right? So LTV, right? LTV 80%, right? Normally it's 80% and everywhere around America for the most part. And if you got really extremely good credit, then it's 90%. You can get up to 90% of the value of the home as a home equity line of credit. That's amazing, right? So if your home is $500,000, you can get 90% of that up front as a home equity line of credit. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's more that you can work with. So that's what a first lien HELOC is, right? So we're gonna move over to what is a second lien home equity line of credit. Okay, so I'm gonna get on this side. So a second lien HELOC, right? A second lien HELOC is the second position behind the current mortgage. So with what that means, for example, you have a mortgage, you have an existing mortgage that you're already in, that you already locked into, you have an existing mortgage. And because of that, because of your situation and what's going on in your situation, it could be credit score, it could be your income is not as good as it's supposed to be for you to get a first lien HELOC, right? So with that being said, you fall into the second lien, second position. So it's basically, you get a HELOC, right? You get a HELOC, but it's based on the equity that's left in the home, not the value of the home, right? So, which brings me to my next point, which is a HELOC goes against the equity of the home, which is the value of where the home is at that moment in time. For example, we're going back to the $300,000 example. Your home value is $300,000, right? But you have an existing first mortgage, right? And in that existing first mortgage, you have paid $100,000, right? You have paid $100,000 in that, inside of that mortgage. So the available equity of the home is $200,000. So the available value of the home that's inside of it is $200,000. You basically do $300,000 minus $100,000, which gives you $200,000 of equity, right? So it's going up against the equity of the home. Okay, so which brings me to my next point. The CLTV. The CLTV is 80%. What is CLTV? The CLTV is the combined loan to value, right? So they get the first mortgage that you are currently in, and then they equate it with the home equity line of credit, right? So for instance, right, the combined loan to value is 80%. What's 80% of $300,000? That is $240,000. So with that being said, they have to give you a line of credit that don't exceed the $240,000 combined, right? Combined with what you already have spent inside of the mortgage. So, for example, you have $100,000 already inside of the mortgage, right? And you can't go over, right? You can't go over $240,000, right? So the banks or the credit unions, they're gonna make sure they do a safe, they're gonna make sure they play it safe and not be too risky because of your situation. So they will end up giving you a $90,000 line of credit, which gives them a $50,000 gap to keep for on the safe side for your sake. So $100,000 plus $90,000 line of credit, right, which equals to $190,000 in total for the whole situation on the second HELOC, the second lien HELOC. So the second lien HELOC is $190. The 80% threshold is $240,000. So with that being said, that between $240 and $190 gives them like $50,000 of cushion to work with, and they don't want to really exceed that for risk purposes for the credit union or the bank. So they're gonna do something between, like I said, between 90, maybe 100. They might give you $100,000, but to be safe, they might end up just giving you $90,000 just for that purpose. So you have a $90,000 line of credit as a second lien HELOC. So what you do with that $90,000, immediately you start paying it towards the first lien, and you probably can attack some other debts as well. So now this is if all things fail. So let's say if you have to sell the home. So it says a foreclosure mortgage, right? If in foreclosure, sorry for my handwriting, but it says if foreclosure. So basically, if it's a foreclosure, the mortgage company receives first sale so that the first mortgage is satisfied. So basically, you will if you go into foreclosure, you will sell the home. And the first thing you have to do is you have to pay who has the first position first. So you have to pay the loan first. You have to pay the mortgage loan first. So soon after you pay the mortgage loan first, right? After you pay the mortgage loan first, now you can move to the second position and deal with that secondly. But the first thing that has to be first, in the sale is the mortgage company. The first mortgage has to be paid first. After that, then it's your HELOC. So with that being said, that's kind of self-explanatory as far as first position, because second position, because obviously it's behind the current mortgage. So in this case, if it was $100,000 left for the mortgage, right, and you sold the home for $400,000, right? So once you get that $400,000, the first thing you'll pay the mortgage, the rest of it's $100,000. Boom. Now that gives you $300,000 back, and now you deal with your home equity line of credit, which is $90,000. So if you have any balance in that, you can pay that down, and you still have some money left, and then you go on about your way. So I just wanted to talk about the HELOCs, because this is the most powerful tool that you can possibly use. With a HELOC, a business line of credit is very substantial as well. It's very prominent and prosperous, but a home equity line of credit is by far the most lucrative line of credit when it comes to consumer debt and dealing with consumer debt and attacking consumer debt. When you attack consumer debt, it just gives you another feeling. Because to know that you're debt free, to know that you're financially free, that's the best thing you can, that's the most happiest, one of the most happiest things that you can, or that's one of the most happiest places, you know, you can be as far as from a emotional standpoint, because that's what we're tied down to. We're tied down to all these debts, all this consumer debt, you know, whether it's with our car or with our boats or with furniture, anything that you have taken a loan out for, you know, any expenses that any expenses from your loans that's constantly taking the weight on you, you can now attack that with a home equity line of credit. You can wipe out the whole debt. So I just wanted to talk about HELOCs and what they are and how powerful they are. They are super, super powerful. If anything, I would tell all you guys to get a HELOC, right? In order to get a HELOC, you have to own a home, or you have to be in the process of buying a home. You can enter a situation where you can come in with purchasing a home with a HELOC. So